I got two big pimples right here. It's because I'm eating greasy stuff. Coincidentally, they are right above my eyes. You could bully me and say I got two pairs of eyes. I'm embarrassing myself. Hello, welcome to The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and today I'm going to review a thing. I'm surprised I got that out without my voice cracking. I am getting over a cold. Or maybe a fever. I don't really know what it was, but I was sick last week. I lost my voice the other day, but I've got it back now, so now I could scream and talk and do whatever the hell I want to do. That includes sitting here and talking about cartoons. Put Tex, I'm an adult. I think it's fair to say that at this very moment in time, we are living in an age where things from the past are being resurrected and coming back onto our screens in various ways. They stay for a couple of years and then they go away because they're realizing it's not as popular as it once was in the past. I've seen franchise after franchise slowly be revised, and there would be spin-offs and reboots of all these projects. I mean, definitely within the last 10 years. Definitely since starting the Wild Review 10 years ago, I've seen a lot of different properties come back that were once very popular, had their chance to live in the moment again, but then have faded out. Some examples include Full House, that is an obvious one. iCarly had a reboot, which I heard was very good. I have not seen it, but I am very interested in seeing the reboot. I think it'd be an interesting watch for me. I guess connected with that, we're getting a Victorious reboot. Rugrats has come back. Blue's Clues, Dora, Barney came back for a little bit, and I have no idea if it was an ultimate failure. I seem to have stopped seeing promotions and advertisements about the new Barney. What else? What else is coming back? We're living in an age where the dead is coming back to life. Today I want to talk about two of those particular dead properties that I truthfully didn't think were going to come back onto our screens at any point, but they have, and they might be here to stay because I think both shows have been renewed for new seasons, at least one extra season. I think one of them has been renewed for 2 seasons. I'm not 100% sure on that. I have to look that up later, so don't quote me. Technically, though, I knew one of them was coming back, originally in the form of a movie, but that has yet to happen, so I'm surprised we're actually at a point where we now have a new season of this show that basically continued, not officially where it left off, but it did establish that what happened before happened. I'm going to get over the secrecy. I'm going to talk about the Amazing World of Gumball reboot and the Phineas and Ferb reboot that both happened last year. 2 different times. Phineas and Ferb, I think, actually happened at a very, very convenient time with it airing around summer vacation, which I think was very clever on Disney's part because it is a summer vacation show. It's a show all about summer. And then I believe Gumball was broken up into 2 different releases because it's not actually on TV. It's on Hulu, which still blows my mind. This was a Cartoon Network production. It's technically a Hanna-Barbera production now up in Europe, and it's being shown on Hulu, which is now owned by Disney. So that's an interesting fact. Still waiting for the day that it gets on Cartoon Network. I think you could desperately need it. But we have the Gumball reboot on streaming. And Phineas and Ferb is also on streaming, but also on TV. It's still on Disney Channel and Disney XD. And I have seen both reboots. And now I want to talk about them. I am aware that it is just 1 season. Technically, Gumball is 2 seasons, but I think they're considering it 1 season because the original seasons of Gumball, when it was the Amazing World of Gumball, it was like 40 episodes with the season. And they're only 10-minute episodes also. So on Disney Plus, technically, which I think is the only place you can watch it, because Hulu is now integrated into Disney. I know it gets a little complicated. It's broken up into 2 different seasons for some reason. So both of the seasons have 20 episodes, but I think we just have to consider them as one big season that was aired at 2 different times. I think that's how they want us to think about it. Also, it's not called The Amazing World of Gumball. It's The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. They gave it a new title just because. I Was a big fan of Gumball when it was new on TV. I mean, it's still on TV now, and occasionally I'll check out an episode. If I'm not doing anything, I'll just put the TV on and I'll watch it. I see it as a comfort show. It's a very silly, fun show to have on in the background. And while I wasn't an ultra super fan of Phineas and Ferb, I did enjoy watching the show. I grew up with Phineas and Ferb. I loved it when it first came on. I kind of lost touch with it when it transitioned over to Disney XD, and some of the episodes of season 3 and 4, like the early episodes of season 4, are kind of fuzzy for me. Regardless though, I was very intrigued with the new season of Phineas and Ferb, especially after hearing that it was going to take place the next summer after season 4. So they weren't doing what regular shows are going to be doing, where they're integrating episodes that supposedly happened within the actual series. I thought that's what they were going to do with Phineas and Ferb, like add on more than 104 days of summer vacation. They don't do that. They just say it's the next summer, which I think is very clever and a very good way to continue a show like that. I'm honestly surprised that every season wasn't that. I think that actually would have probably worked out best for the show, especially because 104 days? Who has 104 days of summer vacation? That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about both of them. I'm just going to give an overview of them and tell you whether or not I like them. And you're going to listen. Because that's how this works. I need to lay down. Let's talk about Gumball first. Just because.
I'm on my way! I'm on my way!
Truthfully, there is not very much for me to say about Gumball, these new episodes, because it does the job pretty well of just being Gumball. I would say the whole feeling of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball was as if the show had never ended, especially when you notice it has the similar energy that season 6 had. A lot of the later Gumball episodes compared to the earlier ones, there were a lot of phases in Gumball, but the last season, specifically, the energy it brought was very random, very upbeat, very in-your-face, and they definitely started to experiment a little more in terms of very little new art styles, which are heavily used in this season. I mean, one episode that particularly comes to mind, I mean, I may get the episode wrong, but there's a moment in the episode where Gumball and Darwin are, like, animated very well. Yeah, it was the Unfollow. The episode The Unfollow. Sarah, like, stops following Gumball and Darwin. Yeah, season 6 had a lot of moments where it was just very wacky, and the characters were a bit goofy. Like, it felt like that they were starting to find their particular place within this fictional universe, and things were starting to get established. Like, we were seeing a lot more with the Awesome Store, the van that gives mysterious gifts, has a mysterious worker inside. I mean, I feel like that was used not over and over again, like excessively, but we were starting to see more of that, especially after we had the origin episode of Darwin. I say Gumball has had a number of phases, like different parts of the show felt very different, because you look at season 1 and it's very simple storytelling. Well, we'll just say that. It's cartoon characters living in a realistic world. That's the vibe I got from season 1. And that continued on up until season 2, because season 3 started to feel like what Gumball is now, with the characters being over the top and Gumball just being super high energy and Darwin starting to be the lovable one, and just wacky things happening. I mean, the idea of things being wacky in the show overall, I mean, that's just been the common theme of Gumball itself, but I felt like it was increased more once we got past season 3, and it definitely increased more once we got past season 5. A lot of that energy, I think, is a little more enhanced when you get into the weird world of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball. They've, for some reason, given it a longer title. What was wrong with just continuing the amazing world? There was one particular episode, it was called The Mister, and Idaho has this, like, sprout growing on him, and he's like, oh, I'm a man now! I'm a grown man! And now he's gotta, like, enter the world as a new man. The one thing that sticks in my mind about that particular episode is when he's trying to apply for a job, and they're starting to kind of give a little commentary on how difficult it is in this day and age to get a job because you need references and you need years of experience. But how do you get those years experience if you're being denied all these opportunities? It's like one chain after another. They're being very meta with just how difficult the world can really be. Another episode that comes to mind, which I think fits in the style of later Gumball episodes, is the one where Gumball is sick. He actually has a sick day at home, but Anais forgets her homework. And the obvious is just you could have just emailed it to her, but Gumball doesn't even realize that's an option, and he just gets up and he's traveling to school sick. It's one of those episodes where it's the world against Gumball, and that's what a lot of these episodes, not all, but a lot of them, they do feel like it. It feels like the universe against Gumball and his family at times. I was very surprised to see a Christmas episode. I didn't think there'd be another Christmas episode in that one. Out of that batch of episodes that we got, one of them that I really like is an episode called The Portrait, where Nicole just wants to take a simple photo of the family, and it goes as best as you would probably expect it to go in a Gumball episode, and it's very sweet, it's a very subtle and very funny episode. I think what we got in terms of a Gumball reboot, it feels like we never even left the town of Elmore. It's probably the best that we're ever going to get when it comes to more Gumball content. And again, I believe we're getting more seasons of Gumball. I think it may have been renewed for 2 seasons, although again, I don't exactly know if that means we're just getting one big season of 40 episodes and they're going to break it up into 2 seasons of 20 episodes. I have no idea how that's going to work, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what else comes out of this. I should make a comment about the movie that was said to have been in production, and truthfully, again, I have no idea if they're even doing the movie again. I would love to see one, though. I would love to see a Gumball movie and actually spend a little more time with these characters, considering that we don't get to spend a lot of storytelling time in this world. Again, every episode is only 10 minutes long, and the times where we get two-parters, where it's a full-length story in the sense of like 20 minutes, they're usually just only 2 parts, each 10 minutes long, so I would love to see something a little more long-form in terms of these characters going on an adventure or dealing with the scenario, but I'm looking forward to more Gumball content. And before I move on, I do want to quickly address the finale of Season 2, whether you want to consider it the Season 2 finale or even just the finale as a whole of these 40 episodes. We should talk about the rewrite because I'm aware I haven't addressed something about Gumball yet. If you know The Amazing World of Gumball, you'll know that the final episode of that show, what is it? Yeah, the Inquisition. So it has the superintendent come in and he tries to not make Elmore Junior High all cartoony and actually starts turning the cartoon characters into real people. I know for a fact I've talked about the finale before, but it ended on a cliffhanger, and a lot of people were very upset about that. They wanted to see the resolution, and for years there was the discussion that the movie was going to pick up from where the cliffhanger left off. When the new series was announced, everybody was shocked to learn that the first episode was called The Burger. It had nothing to do with the cliffhanger, the finale. So we were all just kind of left in limbo, like, okay, well, what about what happened here? Are we not in a realistic world of Elmore anymore? Are we in a fictional world? Well, fictional in terms of the TV show. And the final episode, the rewrite, does address the finale. And I'm going into spoiler territory here. So if you're interested in seeing it but you haven't seen it yet, I'll give you a minute. Okay, time's up. It does address what happened to Rob. He does get picked up by the Awesome Store, which, again, I brought up. The Awesome Store is kind of used a little more here. In fact, we actually get to see the character inside the truck, which I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I liked it more when he was very mysterious, just kind of eyes in the dark. I would have been fine if we didn't even get the eyes. We just got a random voice in a truck. Although he is still very mysterious, he's completely the color black, doesn't have a mouth, all you just see is eyes, but you do see his figure frame. He seems to be very hairy. Regardless, Rob tries to rewrite the entire episode that we are currently watching, so this way Gumball and Darwin don't realize any more plot holes that are happening because it could lead to the destruction of their world. So Rob has now become essentially the savior and is trying to prevent the end of the world from happening. But in terms of it being a resolution to the cliffhanger, it's a very underwhelming one. I was kind of hoping something else would happen, like we would get this big adventure with all the characters in the void. Maybe even like a two-parter. I mean, this was a very quick episode. It was only 10 minutes. So a little underwhelming, but it wasn't horrible. Like, it definitely could have been worse. And I have a feeling we're going to return to this later on in the series. Maybe if we do ever get that movie, it will be addressed in the movie as well. So I wouldn't say that this is an ultimate failure of a conclusion to a cliffhanger. I just think it might be the start of something big that the crew and the creators and the team behind Gumball, I think they're cooking something up that will hopefully be worth it by the end of whenever Gumball officially comes to its end. So I have faith that we'll get something pretty intense somewhere down the line. I will say though, as underwhelming as maybe that conclusion to the cliffhanger was, the rewrite has some really good bits in it, and I especially love the beginning of the episode where they're establishing that there actually are some plot holes that everybody just seems to be fine with, but clearly Gumball and Darwin are not okay with. The biggest one, which I find the funniest bit, is when they establish that the outline of their house doesn't actually match up to what we see. And this is something that I have stayed quiet on for a while in terms of Gumball. I've known that the house outline from what we see on the outside doesn't really match with the inside. It was just really cool to see that I'm not crazy, that I'm not the only one that realizes, hey, this doesn't really work. How does that work? I think that was cool. I mean, you can check it out for yourself. I would definitely recommend. I would check it out. Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. That's a tongue twister. Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. Good show. Definitely would recommend if you're a Gumball fan. If you watch the original show, I would definitely give this one a chance. It'll feel like you're just slipping back into old shoes. It's a weird comparison, but that's the best one that my brain came up with. As for the two stepbrothers in Danville, first off, I have to once again give credit that I do really like how we are not just slipping back into the summer that we once knew. This is a completely different summer, so I really appreciate that. As a viewer, personally, I think that was a good choice. So now we have a whole other summer of adventures that these characters can go on, and I have seen every adventure thus far. Okay, that's what I gotta say. Okay, this is the show. It's definitely good. It's good, very similar to Gumball. It's like we never left. Phineas and Ferb, I kind of feel like it's just kind of been everywhere since its final episode, which I think was that 2016? Because I know I talked about the finale. Oh my god, it was 2015, just about 10 years ago. Took us 10 years to see what their next summer was like. But even then, Phineas and Ferb has been there. I didn't see the real final episode of Phineas and Ferb, which wasn't the last day of summer. It was the Alka Files, I think. It was that backdoor pilot to a potential spin-off that they were going to do. I didn't watch that. I didn't really have an interest in it. That aired a couple months after the last day of summer. But Phineas and Ferb has also been in Milo Murphy's Law, which if you've seen that show, you'll know there was a crossover, but also Doofenshmirtz became a character on that show. I didn't watch the rest of Milo Murphy's Law after a certain point. I know I saw the crossover, and I think that was the last thing I saw. I didn't bother to watch anything else in season 2. Milo Murphy's Law was like, with me. I've gone over this. I think Phineas and Ferb has also just kind of been part of other Disney properties from here and there. Like there's a Disney XD show called the Chinbyverse. Is that what it is? Chinverse? They're like little miniature versions of Disney Channel characters. I know Phineas and Ferb has a part to play in that. It's not like canon to their story, but I know they just make appearances there. And then of course we had the Candace Against the Universe movie, which premiered just a couple of years ago. I think around the time Disney Plus was just getting off the ground, maybe a year or two afterwards, but that's when we last saw the characters, and I think it may have been actually after that movie when Disney announced they were going to continue the show. And in this batch of 20 episodes, again, only like 10-minute each segment, so very similar to Gumball, we actually had 40 different little stories happening. It was fine. Again, it felt like we never really left Danville. The characters were still doing the same thing that they were doing. Phineas and Ferb were making incredible and very obscure things, very complicated looking things also. Like, I don't know, like, this is also how I felt about Phineas and Ferb when it came to the later episodes. Like I said, I kind of lost touch with it at the end of season 3, beginning of season 4. It just feels very fuzzy to me because it doesn't feel like that a lot of moments were very memorable. Like when Phineas and Ferb started, we had very simple understandings of what these characters were building. So they built a roller coaster in their backyard. They put a beach in their backyard. They became pop stars. They made a toy out of their pet platypus. They made winter happen in the middle of summer. Very simple things that we could grasp. And it's not that we can't grasp the new things that they're building, but I can't name what the contraptions are that they've made in later episodes. Like, I legitimately feel like they've just made all these crazy inventions that they're flying and bouncing around with, and I'm like, this seems very excessive. We were just doing very simple stuff. We were shrinking down to go inside our sister by accident one day, and now we're building, let's just pick something random. Let's go to season 3. What were they doing? What's something big that they were doing? They made like a super soccer dome ball thing to play soccer in. That's intense. Some of the episodes also just started going a little like off canon. Like we had episodes taking place. Hello? We had episodes that were kind of like taking place in previous history, so like prehistoric times, and I think there was an episode where their great ancestors made the Great Wall of China. They've had episodes where they go up to space with the Chronicles of Meep storyline that they did. One of the episodes, they like searched for a pajama creature. I don't even know the name of what the creature is. I know it's like part of Phineas and Ferb lore, but that one I thought was completely crazy. Very eccentric stuff that we seem to be doing now. There was one episode in this batch of new episodes. It was like a flying disc. The episode was Trophy McTrope Face. They built this like big Zeotrope, is that what it is? They built this big ride, and it just kind of rolled away, and then it fell in love. It was weird. It was a weird episode. That's what I would consider the episode. Some of the episodes are a little weird. They're a little weird for Phineas and Ferb standards, like early Phineas and Ferb standards, but there are some pretty interesting ones, very fun ones. The first episode alone, the first day back in summer vacation when the mom turns into a cloud, like that one was pretty cool. There's an episode where the characters accidentally get zapped by an innator that Doofenshmirtz builds, and everybody turns into like a weird version of Doofenshmirtz, but they're still kind of remaining themselves. So like Phineas and Ferb are acting like Doofenshmirtz. Oh, this is one that was also kind of weird. They built like a boat, Phineas and Ferb. They built a boat, and it magically made underneath the boat liquid so they could ride it on land. Like, that's... How do you do that? I feel like you're breaking the laws of physics at this point. That's the thing also, like, they've kind of made Phineas and Ferb these geniuses that can magically just build these amazing things. It feels different. It feels different from what Phineas and Ferb originally were, which were just two boys trying to find something fun to do over the summer, and so they do these extravagant things. Maybe that was always a secret part of the show, and I just never really caught on to it. I just always looked for the fun things that they were building. Some of the jokes in these episodes are also just very out there. Some of them are just extremely random. They don't really make sense, and their only purpose for being in the episode is that they could tell a joke. And just from the joke alone, we have to assume that it makes sense. Oh, There's an episode with Isabella and the Fireside Girls. They completely lose their crap. Oh man, how did I forget that one? They're like rioting, they're yelling at each other. There's a song that happens that's intense. The songs are pretty good in this as well. Some of them are also very catchy. I like the plant song. No, not the plant song. It turns into a plant song, but it starts off as the reading song. I like that song. I think that's cool. A lot of the songs in the final episode, the vending machine apocalypse episode, which, yes, that's a sentence I just said. The vending machine apocalypse, that happens. The last thing I'll say about Phineas and Ferb, at least this batch of episodes, and maybe I'm not the only one who feels this way, but I feel like Phineas and Ferb have been casted as the side characters in their own show. This is something that I have felt was something about Milo Murphy's Law that I didn't really get into. With Milo Murphy's Law, you had two different stories happening. You had Milo Murphy, who's the kid that follows Murphy's Law. He's like an ancestor of the Murphy Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And so we see these characters just get into scenarios where things just go wrong, and he survives it. But then you have the time travelers with the pistachio subplot. And there were some episodes where the pistachio subplot became the main plot of the episode, and Milo was like subplotted at times. And that's exactly how I feel some episodes of Phineas and Ferb, especially in this season, have felt. I felt that Phineas and Ferb themselves have been considered as the side characters of their own show, and Perry and Doofenshmirtz have been the main focus. Because a lot of episodes, oddly enough, in this season do seem to revolve around Doofenshmirtz and Perry, or just Doofenshmirtz as a whole. In comparison to a lot of earlier Phineas and Ferb, it was the opposite. Phineas and Ferb were the main focus, and then we would have Perry and Doofenshmirtz be the subplot. At times, we didn't even get that much time with Doofenshmirtz and Perry. They would legitimately only be quick little jump cuts back to what they're doing, and we'd do the main focusing on Phineas and Ferb. Now it's not like that. I do feel like that there's a little more focus on Doof and Perry, which is understandable. They're good characters. They're very interesting characters as well. There has been some character growth between the two of them, definitely. It's no longer just the evil scientist and secret agent trying to save the day. It's more of just kind of a buddy duo scenario that we have. Yeah, sure, why not? They're not really seen as that anymore, even though it's kind of pitched like that, but there's kind of a frenemy scenario that occurs between the two of them now. And it's just kind of the routine. It's just become the norm. I mean, Doofenshmirtz doesn't even come off as an evil scientist anymore. Half of the innators that he makes, they're not really evil, are they? They didn't come off as evil. Half the time he's not even building an innator. I think one of the episodes he's at a therapist and he's just talking to his therapist. Another one, he goes out to dinner and ends up being at a dinner table with Major Monogram and Vanessa and what's the boyfriend's name? Chad. It's not Chad. So Vanessa and Monty, they're dating. They have a family dinner. I mean, Doof's evil plan is he's got a table that will give him all the good food. I mean, that's not really evil. Half the time, Major Monogram sends Perry out just to spy on Doof. Not to really stop him from doing anything. One episode he's on, like, vacation, right? Isn't Doof on vacation in one of the episodes? Not a horrible reboot in any shape or form. It's actually very enjoyable. It's a nice watch. But I guess the word I would use is repetitive. You know, like it's just returning back to where we left off with Phineas and Ferb. And yes, while enjoyable and comforting it is to see these characters, there really isn't anything new that we're being introduced to. It's just kind of one crazy invention after another. Candace freaking out, wanted her mom to see something that, honestly, in this day and age, I don't think the boys would even get in trouble. They made, like, what is it? They made a fireworks show with drones, I think, once. And, like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, what's there for them to get busted over? This seems actually pretty cool. I feel like she'd be completely fine with that. And then the typical Perry's going after Doof. Doof has a sob story, but he's also a nice guy, and then he gets defeated. So, I'd say it's good. I'd give it good. It's good. 2 different reboots, 2 different comebacks, both pretty good shows. So, yeah. I look forward to what comes next with both of them. That's all I gotta say on that. I'm curious to know what you think about it. Did you grow up with Gumball and Phineas and Ferb, and did you check out the new reboots? What did you think of them? What did you think of what you saw? Were you satisfied with them? Did you think there'd be more? Were you expecting something else? Or are you happy that they're both kind of the same? It's not a bad thing, I guess, when shows that are off the air for a while come back and they're essentially the same, but some things added into them to spice up the story, maybe new characters or new concepts here and there. Not a bad idea. That's how a show changes and evolves. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down there if you even bother telling me. Those are all my thoughts. I'm going to go rest my voice now, probably go lay down. I'm very cold. Until then, you keep being you, and hopefully you come back for whatever else I'm going to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Review on The Wild Review, and you just saw me review a thing.